Yes, I want to add my welcome to Cantor Simmons is also Cantor Corn. So happy that you're here with us tonight to celebrate Shabbat. We love having you join us. It is always a great joy for visitors to come join our community. I get a special pleasure when people come to visit us from out of town who are unfamiliar with Go Texan Day. And they look around town and they go back to their homes in Northern California and tell them that everyone in Houston wears boots all the time. In case no one has explained it to you, it is rodeo season, and every year Go Texan Day is the unofficial kickoff of the Houston Rodeo and Livestock Show. This is the day when everybody pulls out their boots and their hats and their big old Texas belt buckles to celebrate the beginning of the rodeo and to put on their own little piece of Texas culture and history, and I love it. This is the time each year we send our kids to school in their hats and boots. You see Western wear all around the city in corporate boardrooms and hospitals and government offices all around Houston. When I came into the office this morning, I walked through the Becker School entrance and was immediately surrounded by a flood of teeny tiny preschoolers in their teeny tiny Go Texas gear. It was adorable and I loved it. I will tell you though that there is a group of people who I think hates Go Texan Day: cowboys. I mean real cowboys, like the real deal guys whose jobs are on farms and ranches and stables. I have to imagine that it drives those guys crazy to see Houston socialites wobbling around town on bespoke cowboy boots made out of exotic animal skins and wearing luxurious hats that cost more than a small car. I think those guys have to hate seeing people play dress up in the gear that are the clothes they wear to work every other day of the year. There may come a time when there won't be any more real cowboys in our country anymore. Family farms are shrinking and disappearing. Small livestock operations are being pushed out of business by multinational corporations. Someday it is probable that cowboy hats and boots will only be a throwback to an earlier, quaint time in America, a time when they served a practical purpose before they evolved into decoration and performance, a costume to put on when rodeo season rolls around each year. This kind of thing happens all the time in clothing. There's all kinds of things in our closets that look the way they do because they were built to serve a particular usage that has since gone extinct. My teenage daughter's combat boots will never be worn in combat. The trench coat that I wear on rainy days will never see the inside of a trench. And the patches sewn for decorative purposes on the knees and elbows of our clothes weren't put there to cover holes. But our Go Texan Day is different because for now, at least, the same pair of boots can serve as a fashion statement and also fulfill the practical purpose of protecting your ankles from rattlesnakes. Now, what's the Jewish connection to all this? I'm so happy you asked. As it happens, the Torah gives us some material that addresses a very similar concept in a related way. The book of Exodus goes into great detail in this week's portion about what the ancient priests were to wear when they presided over the rituals of sacrifice and offerings in the tabernacle long ago and many miles away. The text describes the minute specifications that must be taken in constructing the priests' tunics and headdresses, their breastplates and shoulder pads, the colored yarns and valuable metals and semi-precious stones set into the elaborate garb worn by the leaders of Israelite religious practice. And as we saw with the Western wear that people put on for Go Texan Day, there is a little bit of ambiguity about whether those special clothes were commanded in order to fulfill a specific practical purpose, or whether they're meant to activate some kind of inward transformation inside the wearer, to change the way a person feels inside when he puts the garments on the outside of his body. There was clearly a certain practical dimension to these priestly garments. The text tells us clearly that the special chest piece that the high priest wore could be used to communicate with God. The bells sewn around the hem of his tunic, like a pair of spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle, were meant to notify the community that the priest was hard at work at overseeing the duties of sacrifice when they couldn't see him behind the curtain of the inner sanctum. As time went on, though, especially after the great temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, when there were no more priests and no more sacrifices, the sages of Jewish life made a special point of teaching that even when certain kinds of ritual garb outlive their practical use cases, their intangible value, their potential to uplift and transform a person internally, that must always remain relevant and indispensable. The Torah text says that the ancient priests wore their special clothes lechavod ultifaret, for dignity and adornment. The garments were meant to focus a leader's heart on the seriousness of his role, to remind him of the gravity and majesty of his tasks. And the ringing of the bells are meant to awaken his focus and attune him to the uplifting immediacy of working in God's service. And this, the rabbis teach, is a vital spiritual assignment for any Jew in every place and every era, to walk at all times in dignity and majesty, while simultaneously preserving a sense of realism and humility. It's a beautiful and enduring spiritual teaching that our rabbis from another age bequeath to us. There's one last piece of this Torah teaching that I want to share with you because I think it is a beautiful but subtle element of how the ancient texts talk about the priestly garments. This is in the section that talks about the construction of the priest's bejeweled breastplate. The Torah tells us this: "This shall be done as a remembrance for Aaron and for God, so that they may remember and look favorably upon them." A remembrance. The clothes we wear are meant to be connected somehow with Jewish memory. Many of us can think of times in our Jewish lives and in our secular lives where the things that we wear are designed to allow us to remember and think about how we will be remembered. Maybe you have a special piece of clothing or jewelry that was left to you by someone long gone. Maybe there's a style or a way you tie your tie or wear your hair that helps you remember someone from a generation long before you. The way we dress can help us stir up remembrances from the past and also help us reorient ourselves in the present. When we wear these things, we are in a very real sense garbing ourselves in history and heritage. The ancient rabbis wanted to see to it that we wouldn't lose our connection to this specific spiritual practice, not to overlook the power that dressing Jewish has to drive us toward the memory of where we came from and also toward a heightened awareness of who we are. So the key question remains, what does it mean to dress Jewish? There are certainly some traditional answers to that question. Maybe it means covering your head or wearing a tallis on Shabbat morning and Yontif. Maybe it means dressing with a certain level of tzniut, of modest dignity that befits our heritage as a spiritual community. But dressing like a Jew can also mean something a bit more abstract about what happens inside when we prepare ourselves to enter the world outside our homes and outside our synagogues. To wear our faith, to put on our Jewishness like a garment, to walk in awareness and purpose, lechavod ultifaret, in dignified adornment and awareness of what is around us, being called to see and hear the opportunities for sacred and principled engagement with the world, to put on our identity as Jews when we get up in the morning, to greet each day, eager to find openings to repair the world, eager to respond to the world's invitations, to focus on what matters when it lies before us. What I love about Go Texan Day every year is that it offers all of us from around the city the opportunity to be in some shared experience together, to look at people you might not otherwise be in a relationship with at all, and to know that you share some common element about what is on your body. That's also what I love about being part of this sacred community of purpose. We are in this together too. Our Jewishness draped around us like a shared garment of promise and principle. But unlike the hats and boots that come out for a few weeks every year and then go back into the closet until next year, the fabric of spiritual attention that we surround ourselves with at all times isn't a costume we put on temporarily and then abandon. It means remaining perpetually garbed in curiosity, in openness to exploration and learning, to partnership and possibility, to be part of a community in which we work together to repent and repair, to renew and rebuild. May this be a year and a day and a weekend and a rodeo season of shared purpose and togetherness, of the promise and optimism of shared community and shared values. Shabbat shalom, everybody.